Something strange is happening with wealthy people right now, and most folks scrolling social media have no idea it's even a strategy. The richest person on your street is probably driving a 12-year-old Toyota. The guy at the coffee shop wearing a plain grey hoodie and beat up sneakers just closed on a second rental property last week. Meanwhile, the couple posting holiday photos from Santorini with matching designer bags is $47,000 deep in credit card debt and one missed paycheck away from a full breakdown. Something is shifting in how real wealth behaves. Once you see the pattern, spending money to look rich starts to feel like the most expensive mistake a person can make. The phrase for this is stealth wealth, and it exploded across search trends in 2024 and 2025. The psychology behind it is much older than any trend, though. Back in 1996, a book called The Millionaire Next Door studied thousands of actual millionaires. The researchers expected to find people in mansions with luxury cars and gold watches. What they found shocked them. Most self-made millionaires lived in modest homes, drove used cars, and wore watches that cost less than $300. They looked completely unremarkable, and that was the point. The findings were so counterintuitive that the book sat on bestseller lists for years. The core lesson has only become more relevant as global consumer debt keeps climbing into record territory year after year. Here is what makes this so powerful for building wealth. Every dollar spent trying to look rich is a dollar that cannot compound. If a 30-year-old spends $800 a month on car payments for a leased luxury sedan instead of driving a paid-off used car, that person is choosing to give up roughly $1.6 million by retirement age, assuming a reasonable market return over 3 decades. The lease is not just costing $800 a month, it is costing a future life. And most people making that choice have no idea they are making it. The car depreciates, the lease renews, the next upgrade appears, and 30 years disappear while the balance sheet barely moves. The maths is only half the story, though. The deeper reason wealthy people dress down is psychological, and it protects them in ways most folks never think about. When someone appears wealthy, they become a target for lawsuits, a target for family members who suddenly need loans, a target for scammers, salespeople, and people who assume the check is always going to be picked up. Anonymity carries a hidden value here. It brings safety, and it brings freedom from being watched, judged, and expected to perform a role that costs money to maintain every single day of the year. Something else happens inside a person who chooses to look average on purpose. The nervous system calms down. The constant pressure to keep up disappears. There is no need to upgrade the phone every year, chase the newest sneaker drop, or refresh a wardrobe every season to match what strangers on the internet are wearing. That mental space, that stillness, is where actual financial decisions get made clearly. Anxiety and wealth building do not mix well. The truth is, most spending has almost nothing to do with the item itself. It is about regulating a feeling. Buying something new gives a small dopamine hit that covers up boredom, stress, or a sense of not being enough. The problem is that hit lasts about 48 hours and then the feeling comes back, along with the credit card statement. Retailers understand this cycle better than most people realize. Entire marketing departments exist to keep it running. Consider what has happened with Underconsumption core, a movement that started gaining serious traction in 2024 and kept growing through 2025. Regular people started showing off their 8-year-old kitchen appliances, their small wardrobes, their same pair of running shoes they have worn for 3 years. And something surprising happened. Instead of being judged, they were admired. The culture shifted. Suddenly, showing restraint became more attractive than showing off. Financial peace became the new status symbol, and loud spending started to look a little desperate. Younger generations especially, watching older millennials drown in student loans and lifestyle inflation, have decided the old game is not worth playing. Here is where a person watching this can actually apply the shift, starting today. The first move is separating identity from possessions. Most spending problems come from believing that a certain purchase will make someone finally feel like the person they want to be. The bag will make her feel elegant, the watch will make him feel respected, the car will make the neighbors nod. The feeling never actually arrives though, because identity does not live inside objects. It lives inside behavior, discipline, and the story a person tells themselves about who they are becoming. Someone who saves 30% of their income and drives an older paid off car has a much stronger identity than someone financing luxury on a middle class salary. The second move is what some financial writers call the 24-hour rule, though for larger purchases, it should stretch to 30 days. Any non essential item over $100 gets added to a list and left alone. If after 30 days the item still feels genuinely useful and worth the trade off, then it can be considered. Roughly 80% of items on that list lose their appeal and never get bought. That single habit alone has helped countless people find thousands of dollars a year they did not know they were wasting. The reason it works is simple. Marketing is designed to create urgency, and urgency dies when a decision gets some breathing room. The third move is redesigning the environment. Unfollow every account that makes spending feel normal or urgent. Delete shopping apps from the phone. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. This has nothing to do with being cheap or restrictive. It is about removing the constant psychological pressure that modern life pushes at every screen. When the triggers disappear, the impulse spending disappears with them, almost automatically. Willpower is a limited resource, and fighting temptation all day is exhausting. Removing temptation entirely is a much smarter design. One thing worth being clear about here: looking broke on purpose has nothing to do with being cheap, miserable, or refusing every nice thing in life. Actual wealthy people spend generously on the things that genuinely matter to them, whether that is travel, education, health, or time with family. What they refuse to do is spend on appearances designed for strangers. The distinction is huge. Money spent on real experiences and long-term assets tends to build a life. Money spent to impress people who are barely thinking about anyone else tends to build regret. The wealthy protect their spending for what they actually value and let everything else fall away without a second thought. A Warren Buffett story captures this perfectly. He still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. His net worth crossed $100 billion while he lived there. When asked why he never upgraded, he said the house held his happiest memories, and a bigger house would not make him any happier. That is not frugality, that is clarity. He figured out early what actually mattered to him, and then he refused to let anyone else's opinion move him off that path. That kind of certainty is worth more than any luxury purchase, because it removes an entire category of anxiety from a person's life. Anyone can start applying this thinking this week. Look around at every recurring expense, every subscription, every payment. Ask a simple question for each one. Is this purchase making the life better, or is it making the image better? The answers will be uncomfortable. Some things that feel essential will suddenly look like performances. That discomfort is exactly the signal that real change is possible. Growth almost always feels like losing something at first, because the old identity has to loosen its grip before a new one can take hold. The wealthiest people in the world are hiding in plain sight. They are the ones nobody notices at the grocery store, the ones with the older cars in the driveway, the ones wearing clothes that could have come from anywhere. They figured out that financial freedom and the appearance of financial success are two completely different games. And playing both at the same time is nearly impossible. If this way of thinking hit something real, do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you there.